He was real. The boy himself had said so. One summer evening, the rabbit saw two strange beings creep out of the woods. They were rabbits like himself, but quite furry and brand new. They must have been very well made, for their seams didn't show and they changed shape when they moved. Boys and girls, make a prediction about these rabbits that he's seeing. Quite furry and brand new, and you couldn't see their seams. And he's out in the woods. I wonder if those could be real rabbits. They stared at him, and the little rabbit stared back, and all the time their noses twitched. "Why don't you get up and play with us?" one of them asked. "I don't feel like it," said the Velveteen Rabbit. "Could you hop on your hind legs?" asked the other furry rabbit. "I don't want to," answered the Velveteen Rabbit. One of the rabbits came up very close and sniffed. "He hasn't got any hind legs," the furry rabbit called out, "and he doesn't smell right. He isn't a rabbit at all. He isn't real." "I am real," said the little rabbit. "The boy said so." But just then there was a sound of footsteps, and the boy ran past with the furry rabbits. With a stamp of feet and a flash of white, the two strange rabbits disappeared. For a long time, the little rabbit sat very still, hoping the two rabbits would come back to play with him. But they never returned. The sun sank lower, and the boy came to carry him home. Then one day the boy grew ill, and boys and girls, ill is another word for sick. His face grew flushed, he talked in his sleep, and his little body was so hot that it burned the rabbit when he held him close. It was a long, weary time for the boy. It was a long, weary time, for the boy was too ill to play. But the little rabbit snuggled down patiently and looked forward to the time when they would play in the garden and the woods like they used to. At last the fever turned and the boy got better. The doctor ordered that all the books and toys that the boy had played with be burned. Boys and girls, the doctor is afraid that the boy's germs have gone onto the toys. So the little rabbit was put into a sack and carried out to the garden. Nearby, he would see the raspberry bush that he had played in with the boy. He thought of the skin horse and all that he had been told by him. Of what use was it to be loved and become real if it all ended like this? And a real tear, trickled down his shabby velvet nose and fell to the ground. And then a strange thing happened, for where the tear had fallen, a flower grew out of the ground, and out of the flower stepped a fairy. She came close to the little rabbit and she kissed him on his velveteen nose. "Little rabbit, don't you know who I am?" she asked. The rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him that he had seen her face before, but he couldn't think of where. "I am the nursery magic fairy," she said. "I take care of all the playthings that children have loved. When the children don't need them anymore, I turn them into real." "Wasn't I real before?" asked the little rabbit. "You were real to the boy," the fairy said, "because he loved you. Now you shall be real to everyone." Then the fairy took the rabbit up in her arms and flew away with him into the woods. The woods were beautiful, and the ferns shone like frosted silver. In the clearing, the wild rabbits danced, but when they saw the fairy, they all stopped dancing and stood around in a ring to stare at her. "I brought you a new playmate," the fairy told them. "You must be very kind to him, for he is going to live with you forever and ever." Then she kissed the little rabbit again and said, "Run and play, little rabbit." The little rabbit sat quite still for a moment. He did not know that when the fairy had kissed him, she had changed him altogether. He might have sat there for a long time, if just then something hadn't tickled his nose, and he lifted his leg to scratch it. And he found that he actually had hind legs. Instead of velveteen, he had brown fur, soft and shiny, and his ears twitched by themselves. He gave one leap, and the joy of using those hind legs was so great, he went springing about, jumping sideways and whirling round as the others did. He grew so excited that when he did stop to look for the fairy, she had gone. So, boys and girls, that is a story about a stuffed animal rabbit that is turned into a real rabbit after the boy who was the owner wasn't able to keep him anymore because the doctor was worried he might have had germs. So what a very happy ending when the rabbit came to life and became a real rabbit. And it looks like here on this page, he has some rabbit friends before, which he had wished they'd come back when he had met those two rabbits in the woods. So take a little time to think about the beginning, the middle, and the end. Perhaps practice retelling this story to a family member. And then you're going to work on doing some independent reading. So check on the assignment that your teacher gave you, and you're going to read independently. Enjoy!